What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am going to be ranking all of the live-action theatrical Star Wars movies, starting with the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the two Disney spin-offs, and of course, the new kid on the block, Mandalorian and Grogu, which I recently just watched for the first time. So that means I will be ranking all 12 of these Star Wars movies worst to best. Now, with that said, if you have any suggestions on what I should do next, whether it's movies or music related, leave them in the comments below. And if you have your own list of Star Wars films ranked worst to best, leave them in the comments below. And remember, these are just my opinions, and I'm not saying my opinion matters more than yours. I'm just saying that these are the movies that I think are worst to best. With that said, let's get to it. Coming in at number 12 is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And this movie growing up for me was the most boring out of the Star Wars movies. It also was a snooze fest. As a kid, I remember trying really hard not to fall asleep. But growing up, getting older, rewatching the movie, I feel that this movie actually got a lot worse. First off, the whole movie looks completely computerized, way too far on the computer shit. Nothing felt authentic, nothing felt there, and nothing felt like it made me want to look at it. Then, I'm not a fan of Count Dooku as a villain. I love Christopher Lee as an actor, but I am not a huge fan of the Count Dooku character. Not even in the Clone Wars. He just felt boring, kind of So, yeah. Also, I am not a fan of the boring and unimpressive climax of this movie. Like, it was cool that all the Jedi's got together to help fight, but they weren't shot well, and also they weren't shown enough to like add new cool stuff to the Jedi lore and shit. So it's like it felt kind of underwhelming. Also, the dialogue, man, the dialogue is really tough to listen to. It comes off as cringy, awkward, nothing a normal person or being would say. And not even Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan could fix that. Also, let's talk about Padme and Anakin's relationship. First off, their chemistry sucks. Then the dialogue that they were given sucks. It just felt it just kind of comes off as awkward, weird, and uncomfortable. With that said, let's talk about Hayden Christensen as Anakin in this movie. I don't hate Hayden Christensen. I think he's a nice guy and he has potential to do more Anakin stuff going forward because he is a really good actor. But in this movie, he is not good in this movie. And it's not his fault. He wasn't directed well, and this is one of his first major movies. And yeah, with given dialogue like that, how else are they going to do that performance? But again, with that said, it's not a good performance. So yeah, no hate to Hayden, but still not a good performance. Yeah, so Attack of the Clones is the most boring and underwhelming and weird movie out of the bunch. So yeah. Coming in at number 11, we have The Rise of Skywalker. And this movie, before I went to go watch this movie in theaters, I was both hopeful and hesitant to like it. Because I just watched The Last Jedi wrap up a lot of shit that could have made the ending of this trilogy, and they wrapped everything up in that movie. So what the fuck were we gonna watch? What the fuck was gonna happen next? Like, where else could we go? But I went in hopeful and was thinking, oh, this might not be too bad, so I'll watch it. Hopefully I like it. Well, I came out of the theater and I was really disappointed with this movie. First off, I am not a fan of how they brought back Emperor Palpatine. You could argue that it started with Palpatine. This whole film series started with Palpatine. It should end with him, right? I agree. If he was built up in this new trilogy, I would have been okay with that. But the problem was he wasn't built up, and he was just a safeguard to lean on when shit got bad in the fucking Last Jedi. Like, He was a safeguard. He's not supposed to be a safeguard. He's the main villain of the fucking franchise. Like, come on. You gotta be more clever than that. It just tainted the love I have for the idea, the way that they brought him in. It was unexcusable. Also, I am not, either way, whether it was good or bad, I am not a fan of Rey being his granddaughter. Even if you wrote that and directed that well, I still wouldn't have liked it. I don't like the idea. I don't know if it's just personal preference, but I didn't like the idea of Rey being a Palpatine. I really would like it that it was just her coming to terms with being Force sensitive on her own without having to be related to anyone. But nope, she's related to somebody, and it just kind of was a kick to the nads in that cool, clever idea. And I'm not a fan of the grainy blue look that the visuals are giving us. It felt ugly, uninspired, and very, very odd. Also, I'm not a fan of the character inconsistencies in this movie. I'm not a fan of the back and forth between Poe and Finn. Yeah, Finn's kind of an annoying character in this movie. So is Poe. Poe is an annoying character in this movie as well. And I'm also not a fan that none of the OG3 got to have a scene together. That was the case for all of these sequel movies, but yeah, they should have had one scene together in this movie. But I do like some of the fight scenes in this movie, and the music's okay, so I guess that counts for something. But yeah, this movie is just awful. I don't like it, and I never will. Coming in at number 10, we have The Last Jedi, and a lot of people hate this movie more than they hate The Rise of Skywalker. I can see why. It's not a good movie. It's horrible. It's horribly written, horribly directed, horribly shot, and horribly. But the reason why it is above The Rise of Skywalker for me is because I do like the visuals. I like the red aesthetic to everything. The fight scenes even have their own visual setting. Rian Johnson knows how to direct visuals. So I'll give him props for that. And also, I do like the scenes between Rey and Kylo Ren. And though there's not a lot of scenes like that in the movie, I do like how they build up their bond. Like, they don't start off like, how could you do this and all that? Like, they hate each other, and then they slowly get to connect with one another. Like, there's some good in him, but he's just too far gone. I know it's a retread of Return of the Jedi, but these actors really make it work, so I'll let it pass. Other than that, I am not a fan of this movie whatsoever. I'm not a fan of the beaten down, broken Luke. I am not a fan of the dialogue. I am not a fan of the too many goddamn side quests in this movie. I am not a fan of how they wrapped up everything in this movie that should have made it to the last of these sequel movies. But no, they wrap up everything. I am so pissed that they did not do anything with Snoke other than just kill him in this movie. I was excited after seeing Snoke in the fucking Force Awakens. I was excited to see how they would build him up in the future movies. But nope, kill him off in movie 2. So yeah, this movie was horribly directed, horribly written, but a teeny bit better than The Rise of Skywalker. Only by a little bit. Coming in at number 9, we have The Phantom Menace. And I know a lot of people hate this movie out of the prequel movies, and they prefer, for some reason, Attack of the Clones. But I will give this movie credit that at least most of the movie is fucking riddled with actual stuff that's there. Like half of the stuff is computerized, but at least I can see most of the visuals in this movie. At least they're computerized well for 1999, let alone. So I'll give that movie credit. Also, man, that fucking Darth Maul, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Qui-Gon Jinn fucking fight in the end. Ooh, that movie, that fucking scene was awesome. Ooh, that scene was awesome. I will rewatch that scene after I'm done making this fucking video. But man, whoo! And Darth Maul as a villain, though he doesn't say much or isn't in too many scenes, I love how they build him up. And even then, in shows, he's doing really well. They make him complex, they make him interesting, and they make him even more dangerous. But here, this is a good starting point for a fucking villain. And Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, really great. Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor, really great. So yeah, those are the only few good things about this movie. So let's talk about the bad. First off, Jar Jar Binks. Second, I'm not a fan of how they directed the poor kid Jake Lloyd as Anakin Skywalker. It's not his fault. I'm not a fan of how they directed him and gave him shitty dialogue to work off of. Poor kid. I hope he's doing well. Third, Jar Jar Binks. 4, though I did say some of the effects are pretty good, there are some effects that don't render properly. 5, Jar Jar Binks. 6, I am not a fan of the too many political talk in this movie. Like, the political talk made me fall asleep a bit, and it didn't work for me. 7, Jar Jar fucking Binks. Enough said. Move on! Coming in at number 8, we have The Mandalorian and Grogu. So, this one was complicated because I really wanted to give this one a shot. But before watching the movie, I thought to myself, it's just going to be a long extended version of the TV series. And for the most part, I was kind of right. It just felt like a long episode of The Mandalorian, and it just kind of made me question why the fuck didn't they make Mandalorian season 4. It just made me like think this would have been cool as a show story, but they made it a movie. So, but with that said, the characters are still cool, and I do like the visuals for the most part. And I do like Jeremy Allen White as Rhoda the Hutt. Surprisingly, though he's not in the film much, I do like what they did with them. There are some fight scenes that drag on and some regular scenes that drag on, but there are some scenes that move a bit smoother. So the only positive I can say is that there are interesting elements, but it's just, again, felt like a long extended episode of the show. So, yeah. Coming in at number 7, we have Solo, a Star Wars story. And I'm not going to be too harsh on this movie because it has nothing to do with the Jedi or Emperor Palpatine or the Resistance or whatever. It's just its own smuggler story. And for what they gave us, it was decently okay. First off, Alden Ehrenreich playing Han Solo this time was pretty good. Like, he wasn't great, but he did pretty good. Donald Glover as Lando, however, that was pretty fucking cool. And I do like the flying scenes. I like the graininess of this movie. It works well due to the story and the character. I do like the visuals, and I do like the music. But let's talk about the things I don't like. I don't like the villain. He's pretty boring. I don't like the crew that is ran by Woody Harrelson's character. Also, I don't like Woody Harrelson's character. It's just a tag-along. Not a fan of Emilia Clarke's character, Kiri. I'm not a fan of some of the fight scenes. I'm not a fan of how some things feel slow or forced. It just could have been a bit better. I like it, but it could have been better. Coming in at number 6, we have The Force Awakens. And I know what you're thinking. Really? That retread of A New Hope? That's getting in the middle of the list? Really? Well, it's a retread. That's mainly why it's down here. I don't like retreads, but this is a decently made retread, and I do like the characters and how they're introduced. I love how Kylo Ren's introduced. I love the reveal of Snoke being this gigantic overlord that could have had potential, but, you know, as I mentioned in the other films, no potential there. I do like the visuals. I do like that there's more practical effects in this movie than there is computer. I do like the music. I do like the conflict, and I do like the chemistry between Harrison Ford and the new set of characters. I also love the chemistry between Poe and Finn in this movie. It's so fucking awesome. Also, Rey has slowly became one of my least favorite characters in the new trilogy, but in here she's a good starter character that eventually I would grow to hate, or not hate, but dislike. So this movie did okay for what it was going for, starting a new trilogy in the same continuity of the Skywalker saga. It did a lot of retreading, which I'm not a fan of, but it did it surprisingly decently. So I'll give the movie credit for that. Coming in at number 5, a lot of people are going to have a lot of problems with this one. Coming in at number 5 is A New Hope. And I know what you're thinking. How are you putting this movie so low on the list? Well, first off, it's not so low on the list. I think it's perfect where it is. Do I think it's a really good movie? Yes. Do I think it's a great movie? A little reach. Like, close, but a little reach. I love how the characters are introduced. I love Mark Hamill being introduced as Luke. I love Harrison Ford being introduced as Han Solo. I love Carrie Fisher being introduced as Princess Leia. And I love all the characters being introduced. And they're acted well. They're casted well, too. But it's just a blueprint to future movies, which that's not a problem. It's just not something I would usually put at the top of my list. So here, I feel like it's a good position where it's at. I like the movie. It's a lot of fun. There's so much action for it being the year it was set in, and I do like the conflict in the story. The climax is a teeny bit underwhelming, but it gets better by the end. So it also feels like a short movie too. So it's like not a lot to pick off of, but it's a really good movie. It's just not a great movie. Coming in at number 4, we have The Return of the Jedi, and a lot of people are probably thinking to me right now, why did you put this above A New Hope, motherfucker? Well, I do like the conflict struggle between Luke and Darth Vader. I love the conflict within Darth Vader, like, trying to fight the light side, but he knows that deep down that there's good in him, but he fights it off with being menacing as usual. And he does come off as menacing in this movie. I am so glad that they revealed that he's the father in the second movie instead of this movie, because here it would have just felt completely out of nowhere. But yeah, it was a really good conflicting story, and I do like the side story where Han Solo, Princess Leia, and the others are trying to fight like stormtroopers on the Ewoks planet, and I do like the little like band together story here. I think the Rise of Skywalker is trying to do that in that movie, but failed at it completely. Here, it just felt nice. It felt like they were coming together to fight an evil together, banding together. I liked it. Also, I love the reveal of Palpatine in this movie. He was actually a little scarier in this movie than he is in the prequel. So, I'm also a huge fan of the fights between Vader and Luke. So, yeah, this movie I feel like did a bit better than A New Hope. Not by much, but it's a better made movie than A New Hope. And I would go back and rewatch this movie more than I would the other movies that I've said in the past. So, yeah. Now we made it to my top 3. And coming at number 3, we have Rogue One, a Star Wars story. This movie is a unique Star Wars movie. First off, it has that grainy, edgy vibe, but for these characters and this story, it works kind of well because these are like the background characters that eventually lead the way to A New Hope. And I love the way they work off each other, their dialogue, their conflicts. They know how to write it well, so it works. And I also love I also like that they're slowly building the Death Star, but they reveal that the creator did purposely leave an error to the forming of the Death Star. I also love the visuals. I love the action. And I do love the music. The music is fucking amazing. I also love that ending Darth Vader scene, that fucking slaughter of the little troopers that are getting killed off by him. Man, that scene was so fucking cool. The only complaint I have is Krennic as a villain, but other than that, it's a good movie. Coming in at number 2, we have Revenge of the Sith, and yep, this movie is the best out of the prequels. I love how everything is being built up. Hayden Christensen is a better actor in here, though the dialogue between him and Padme is kind of off a bit. At least there's not a lot of it. I do love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan in this movie. He does so good on his side quests. I love that they build up the Emperor Palpatine story. I love the music, though it is hard to watch. One of my favorite scenes is the Order 66 scene, because it shows that all these characters are being at the demise and leading to the future of the original trilogy, and it's really cool. I also love the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, though it will never top the Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon fight. I still think this comes a close second. I also love the birth of the Darth Vader scene, minus the no part. I do like how he is built up and made into Darth Vader. I do hate that they killed off Padme, but I knew it had to be done. But yeah, this was a really good movie, and it's the best out of the prequels. Given where I put it on my list, that says a lot. And the number 1 movie on my list is The Empire Strikes Back. I know this is a popular opinion and a popular rating to put on the list, but I'm sorry. It's just a really, really fantastic movie. I know it seemed like I was talking crap about A New Hope, but it was still a good movie. But this movie is fucking phenomenal. I love how they matured the audience. They matured the audience's perspective. I love how they made it a little more dramatic. I love that they gave depth to both Han and Leia. I love how they're building up Luke as a Jedi. I love that they slowly build up the idea that Luke and Darth Vader are connected, but never would have thought that he would have been the father of Luke. So I thought that was really cool reveal. I also love they brought in Yoda. He was really good in here. I love that he was pretending to be somebody else and he was revealed to be Yoda, so that was pretty cool. And I also love his line when Luke leaves and Obi-Wan's ghost says, "That boy is our last hope," and then Yoda goes, "No, there is another," which also I think they were going for the fact that they were talking about Darth Vader becoming good again, but I also like to think that it was them building up Leia as his sister in the third movie. So I love how this movie builds up so much stuff with great payoffs, and I love how they mature the story and give it so much more depth than they needed to. So yeah, The Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie in my opinion, and according to everybody out there, most of y'all's opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any other suggestions on what I should do next, whether it's music or movie related, leave them in the comments below. And if you have your own list of Star Wars movies on how you would rank them, leave them in the comments below. And remember, These are just my opinions. Not saying my opinion matters more than yours. I'm just saying that these are the movies that I feel are worst to best. With that said, I'm Steven Padilla, and I'll see y'all next time.